everyone, this is me, Regina. You've seen me here before in these videos. We are here with another Zoom talk video from Maui No Ka Oi Toastmasters Club. These are video series where we talk to different members of our club and share the experience and thoughts on Toastmasters meetings on Zoom. And today I'm talking to Malia. Hi, Malia.
Hi, Regina. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for participating in this crazy idea of mine. Now, I ask everyone, and I'm going to ask you too at the very beginning of this conversation, can you tell us, especially those who don't know you, how long have you been in Toastmasters and what was the main goal, main reason you joined Toastmasters to start with?
Sure, I would love to. I joined Toastmasters actually just about 5 years ago. I think last week made 5 years, and wow. That was in October of 2015. And the reason I joined was I was looking for, well, two reasons. One, just to kind of increase my professional skills and presentation and in general. But then secondly, I was in the process of writing a novel, and I knew that once the book was finished, I wanted to be able to go out into the community and talk about it. And so I wanted to be able to prepare myself to do presentations about the book.
That's cool. That's a unique goal.
Yeah.
That I haven't heard yet before. Let's go straight to Zoom talk. Now, we have been having Toastmasters meetings in Zoom now more than half a year now. What were your original thoughts when you heard we are going to have meetings online?
Right.
And did they change? Hi, cat. I forgot to ask what the cat's name.
His name is Isaac.
Hi, Isaac.
Online, I thought it was a good idea, and I wasn't intimidated by it or anything. You know, I'd been doing a lot of things for work already online, and so I thought, okay, we'll just transition. And actually, it's been a lot smoother than what I thought in terms of people showing up and doing their speeches and their roles and things. So I think that technically it's worked well. I have some other thoughts about how it's impacting our growth, maybe. And I can talk about that now, or if that's a separate question, but you know.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes,
then.
I would love to hear what your thoughts are.
So now that we're doing them online, and we've been doing them for 7 or 8 months, I feel like, well, what I've observed is that there's some ways we can stretch ourselves to do better. So for example, if you're in an in-person meeting, you're always going to stand at the front of the room and you're going to try and memorize your speech if you can, or maybe have cards. And so those are two challenges, right? To use your body and to have things memorized and that type of thing. And some folks, when they do a speech over Zoom, they tend to read off the screen their speech. You can see that they're doing that. So they're not memorizing. And secondly, they don't stand and use their body as well as maybe they could in an in-person meeting. So I feel like those are some areas that, for me, I've tried to challenge myself and memorize as much as I can and stand up and stand away from my desk to do my speeches, because I don't want to lose that part of it. Now, there is something that can be added more easily in Zoom to, again, challenge us. And that is, I think we can just get better at doing electronic meetings, you know, over the internet and using the tools that are available for us. So, for example, PowerPoint, or, you know, doing slides or photos or something. That's something that, for me, has always been a little intimidating to do in person, because you're using someone else's computer. You have to, you know, get it set up ahead of time, make sure technically that everything works. But now it's a lot easier to go into those tools on your own computer at your desk. So I think that and I've seen in this last 7-8 months since the pandemic started, I've been in so many trainings and webinars and conferences. I attended a 2-day conference online, attended a 2-day conference. And so I've seen some very slick, and fundraisers. I've attended some fundraisers, and that's my field where I work in. And so I'm learning about how you can transition, a 300-person sit-down dinner and dancing event into an online fundraising event and keep people engaged. So there are some very slick tools out there, and even companies that are experts in production, if you will, to help you put it all together. And so by seeing these examples, it just drives me to want to use Toastmasters to do better in those ways, and to use those tools. And I think that Toastmasters International has adjusted in some ways and is providing more of those things. I haven't delved in so much, but even things like the background for the timer of the red, yellow, green, and that type of thing. So they're hip to this changing situation, trying to provide us with some tools. So that's something that I would like to, possibly mention. Maybe I'll do a speech about it, but possibly mention to our club that these are some differences, but here's some ways you can still challenge yourself. And we need to all get better at online communication. So maybe you're not standing in front of the room anymore, but now you should be using slides instead, where maybe before that wasn't as expected. So those are some of my thoughts on how it's changed with us.
I have heard people say that maybe possibly we are losing some quality of what we get out of Toastmasters during these online meetings. However, I think I like that you are saying about the challenge, like, hey, I almost like find a way to challenge yourself to use this to learn something new.
And there's the quality in the presentations, and then I've personally been a little challenged in my projects with Pathways. There's more group projects and different things that you need to, I'll just, for example, be out in the community doing things, and I don't have access to those types of things anymore. So my path has been a little challenging in what I'm trying to accomplish in Pathways at some points, because I just can't do those things, but I've been able to adjust it a little bit. And that all to say, are there ways we can keep the quality, not just in our presentation and using the tools, but through Pathways, keep some alignment with this change, so that you don't necessarily have to have a sit-down meeting with 20 people and run the meeting. That was one of the things I could have done as a project that I did a little bit online with a smaller group, but it wasn't the same as really what they were asking for, So possibly looking at some new additions to our educational materials, I guess, is where that ends up.
Yeah. Right. I have said to some people in these Zoom talk series how we, with Pathways, we had pretty much like 2 years time to figure out that we were told about Pathways, switching on to Pathways already in advance before the previous way of manuals, us receiving actual physical manuals, was taken away. But with Zoom, we just literally got dropped into Zoom overnight.
Sure. Exactly.
There was no preparation. There was nothing. We were just dropped into it. Or we could have chosen to not do Zoom and just wait this time out and not meet at all. True.
And I think meeting over Zoom is definitely better than not meeting at all. And And clearly I fall in that camp because I am attending the Zoom meetings and other people are not, right? They're choosing to not participate that way. But for me, it's worth it to stay with it, even if I'm only doing 50 or 75% maybe of what I would have done before. I don't want to lose momentum, I guess.
Once everything kind of settles down, I mean, eventually it's going to be safe again and okay to meet in person. Do you think we will be able to go back to just meeting in person after we have had this experience of Zoom meetings?
I think that with regard to Toastmasters, I think we will go back to in-person meetings. I think that there's so much structure and longevity of the Toastmasters way of doing things for, 100 years or however long they've been around, and since the 60s, I guess. So I think that will continue to meet in person. I think in the whole scheme of the world, I think we'll evaluate necessary to still have meetings in person. There's a lot in the interpersonal dynamic. There's a lot in people's energy that they bring. There's a lot in, we all know body language is so important, and a lot of that is lost over Zoom or any video conferencing. So I think people are going to want that in certain situations.
What do you think is the top most positive thing about Toastmasters meetings on Zoom, and what would you say is the top most negative thing about Toastmasters meetings on Zoom?
I think the most positive thing about Toastmasters meetings on Zoom is there's two. One, that we still have our meetings and we haven't shut down completely. So we have a way to connect and to still communicate. And then I do enjoy meeting other guests from other places that we normally wouldn't have them pop into our meetings. So that's been fun. And actually a third one, I've attended a couple of other Toastmasters events on Zoom also that I normally wouldn't have had a chance to go to on Oahu specifically. So those have all been really good things. I think, the only negative really is wanting to see people stretch more and really work their presentations a little more rather than to sit and read something, and I think that's the part that's missing for me, is having that type of experience with their speeches and seeing them grow and stretch. A lot of people are, and a lot of people have taken to standing and still memorizing and doing it over Zoom that way, and I can see how they've improved. Also, if you think about it, not just the speakers, but even the people doing evaluations, or like the awe counter used to stand up and give a report, right? And now, no one's doing that.
What do you miss the most from meetings in person?
Just seeing everyone talking, before and after. Yeah, that's all.
Right, the social aspect, kind of.
Yes.
And the snacks.
And the snacks.
Snacks, cookies, or whatever else.
Whatever Vicky makes, she brings for us.
Yes, or we had the meeting where, remember Daniela? She brought chocolates.
Yes. Oh, yeah. How could I forget that one? From Switzerland.
But if there's something that I did not ask you about the Zoom experience, but you feel like would be important to say?
I would like to see, and I'm sure maybe the officers have done some of this, but the folks that we've lost because they're not comfortable on Zoom, like it would be nice to have some resources for them to reach out and, try and encourage them to try it again. Maybe they didn't like it a couple times, but I think we've all gotten better and more comfortable with Zoom. And so, it would be great if, I know we're not supposed to get together, but it would be really great if I could have one of those people sitting next to me at my house and do the Zoom with me and see how it works. You know what I mean? And something like that to encourage them to come back, because they're missing out, you know, and we miss them as well.
Yes. Being in Toastmasters for quite some time, I definitely always feel sad when somebody who especially has been for some time in Toastmasters, you know, not just a couple months, but a year, 2 years, and then they just leave.
Yeah, it's sad to me to, you know, personally to not see them, but then for their sake to know they're kind of missing out on this too.
Right. So people, if you are or were members of our club and you are watching this and you are not coming to meetings, this was for you. Yes, yeah. We want you back. No pressure, no pressure, but we want you back. Come back.
In closing, I would say that I'm really glad that we are continuing to meet and that we are able to meet some of our educational goals, even if it's different. And I think that I see it as sort of a bridge to when we can get together again, you know, and we're just holding it together this year and into next year and this is a great tool to use in that time until we can get together again. So I encourage people to stick with it as much as possible right now.